What if I told you that there's actually no such thing as hard music? Now I know you're probably thinking like, come on, I've played so many hard pieces and things have been really hard, and maybe there's a piece that you're working on right now that feels really hard. But let me ask you this. Do you think your teacher, if you take private lessons, would think it's hard? Do you think your band director would think it's hard? Do you think Martin Frost would think that music's hard? Music being hard, or like the hardness of music, all comes down to your perspective. I bet one of the first pieces that you learned was maybe Hot Cross Buns or Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I bet when you started playing those seemed pretty hard, right? But now if you were to play those, they're not hard at all. So the hardness of music is absolutely just based on your perspective and where you're at in your current journey. So what I like to think, instead of complaining about how hard this piece is or how hard the music I'm learning is to change the mindset a little bit and change it to the music being unfamiliar or maybe past your technical experience or expertise. Let me break that down a little bit. So the hardness of music really truly only comes down to how familiar you are with the piece and how good you are at playing your instrument in general. So for example, when you first started learning, say, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, at first you had to get familiar with the notes. Maybe you didn't know what the highest notes were in that piece, and maybe you had to learn a new fingering in order to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and you also had to learn the rhythms and what the actual notes are, so you had to just get familiar with it. Now, another way that could be hard is it's past your technical expertise. So say you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in a key that goes over the break and you're having trouble crossing the break. That's an example where your actual clarinet technique is holding you back. So really that's the only two options for something to be challenging for you, is if it's just unfamiliar and you need to learn the notes and sort of orient yourself with how the music goes, or it could be actually technically challenging and you need to develop a new skill on your instrument to be able to play it comfortably and confidently. Let me give you another example with a hard piece that I'm working on right now, Scott McAllister's Bling Bling. This piece, looking at it, is quite technically challenging, but when you break it down, it really comes down to just those two things. There are some passages in there that are just unfamiliar, and once I figure out what the notes are, figure out how the pattern goes, and learn how the music goes, it's not going to be that hard to play at all. And there's some things in there that are actually beyond my technical limitations. So for example, some of the technical limitations in there are the extreme high notes. There's a few high C's in the piece, and they're articulated and short notes, so that's something that I'm not super great at. So I'm going to practice that technical aspect of things, working on playing those high notes, articulating on those high notes, and getting good control over that, which is something that my neighbors are really appreciative of, and my cat as well. But another technical challenge in Bling Bling in particular too is that I have to play chromatic scales in 30-second notes at 144 beats per minute, which is pretty fast, and my technique, my actual fingers, aren't quite good enough for me to play comfortably at that speed yet. So I've just been practicing chromatic scales and finger flexibility patterns like crazy, working on getting especially this pinky to cooperate and coordinate for a chromatic scale that fast. So that's where I'm looking at this piece and not just being intimidated by how hard it is, I'm looking at those specific technical limitations that I have and working it out. Then the other side of things is just general familiarity, where I'll look at a passage and yes, I have to do the 30-second notes really, really fast, but it's also more a matter of where it's going. That's the familiarity part. So once I can see that this is just a high F, chromatic scale down to G flat, back up to the high F, chromatic scale down to F, and then back up, then it's easy once I get that familiarity of where I'm going. At first glance, this is just a blob of notes that looks really intimidating. I get more familiar with those notes and see that it's just the scale pattern. I know how to play this scale. Then I just deal with the technical limitations of actually wiggling my fingers fast enough. And then I'm familiar, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, and suddenly this extremely difficult looking passage, this super hard music, at first glance starts to become much more manageable. And that's the process of learning, and it's great to have that little challenge, and the whole point of gaining experience is to just get more and more familiar with more and more different patterns and different pieces of music. And as you do that, your expertise will grow, and pretty soon things that used to be hard will start to feel easy. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this other just quick, more little bit ranty video. You guys seem to like that before. Definitely leave a like on this video if you found this enjoyable, and subscribe because I have more videos coming out every week. And if you want all the information about all the resources that I'm putting together to help you succeed at playing the clarinet, go to QuickStartClarinet.com to check that out. Thank you so much for watching this one, liking and subscribing, all that good stuff, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.